Hello guys, my name's Yoshi, and welcome back to my CTR Nitro Field 100% playthrough as Dingodile, by the way. Did I forget to mention that? Anyways, we left off finishing off that platinum that we were trying to get in the previous episode, which we did get at the very end of the episode, so definitely watch to the end in that episode if you want to see me get the plat, because that's when I get it. It was definitely a lot tougher than I thought, but thankfully it didn't take as long as Papu Spear. Like I said, Papu Spear is one of the worst, and so the reason why I said that I would go for platinums is the next platinums I have to get are on two of the easiest tracks to learn in the game: Slide Coliseum and Turbo Track. But before I do anything else, I'm going to show you a little secret here that you probably have never seen before. I was wondering about the gold things and how you get that. Well, this turns out the way you get this is by doing some very tricky jumps for specific parts of the race. And you pretty much have to jump with a full boost bar to get it, and if you don't do it just right, you'll miss. But anyways, you pretty much have to go off a specific area in just the right way to get this, but these are golden eggs, or at least that's what I'm going to call them, and if you manage to get all of the golden eggs, there's a little secret that you can get. I went ahead and got all of the remaining ones you saw before off screen, and so that now I'm just going to go in and get all of these eggs now. All of them are very difficult, in case you didn't already notice, because they don't really expect... This was added, of course, as a new thing to the remake, because of course they had to do it. It's hard to know if you need to do boost, but... Okay, we got all of the gold. So that was technically the 5th gold spot. That's what I know. Now, of course, there's one more problem we have to deal with. We need to find the statue now. I actually have never found the mysterious statue in adventure mode yet. But I don't know yet. I would think it would be on the final part of the course, but no, I guess not. I don't know. But I figured I would show off that little secret. So if you get all of the golden coins in one file of adventure mode, this can be gotten at any time, and then you can just visit a statue and... Oh, here it is. It's in the second world. Oh, it gives you a new character, King Chicken. Okay, so getting all of the eggs, you unlock a completely new secret character to the remake, King Chicken. That's awesome. I actually like that. I got that. Considering that is probably part of 100% anyway, so I'm glad we did that, because we definitely needed that, but the time has arrived to finally tackle the gem cups. The gem cups are some of the longer things in the game. Think about the stuff we had to do before, but now we have to do 4 times in a row. And I'm going to start with the worst one from opposite order just to be funny. So we're going to start with the purple gem cup first. Each of these are a series of the 18 tracks that we had to do in adventure mode. But this time we have to face off against them with medium CPU level. Since I picked classic mode, they'll be varying. If you picked easy mode, then it won't even be a challenge, hence why I recommend if you just go for at least medium, but nothing else. As for hard, I don't actually know if it's hard mode yet. If they get in front of me for a long time, then it's definitely gonna be hard mode. But hopefully by now we've learned enough of the tracks to the point where we could just go for the fast strategies. Ooh, and it looks like the bosses have also joined us. That's a new tech they must have added here. Previously, the bosses never joined you in the Avenger whatsoever, so I guess as a new effect, this is just a thing they added for the remake, but it looks like the bosses now join you for Adventure mode. So yeah. Now don't worry too much about the gem cups. They are still a challenge, that's for sure, but they're not going to be quite as annoying as what we previously did, because now we're finally done with the obnoxious part of Adventure mode. Most of our focus will instead go into winning the courses, and I'm actually probably not going to even go for the Beanox crates. If I deal with that, that's going to be in a completely separate episode with a guide, and that's going to be done in single race, meaning I may actually visit some races a little bit earlier. Because Beanox crates are required for 100%, but the way you break them is a little bit different. You pretty much just have to go for the race as fast as you can, and then once you break it, your progress gets saved. They, of course, hide in spots that you would not expect, so pretty much on the offside on other stuff. In fact, I think it's kind of strange, but this actually reminds me of another mechanic that was used in a racing game similar to CTR, but not quite as polished. It's a racing game I picked up by the name of Mickey Speedway USA. Little note, to unlock the final track series in that game, you need to find a series of about 4 wheels, which are scattered throughout the previous tracks, and the only way to get them is to get them during the cup at some point during the race. And once you get all 4 of them, the final course unlocks. It's kind of tricky when you first figure it out, because most of the time you won't know where they are, so it'll be pretty difficult, but yeah. The Beanox crates are kind of a remnants to that, only they probably will unlock a new character if I get all of them. So far I've gotten a couple, but for the purposes of this cup, I'm not going to worry about that, obviously, because I need to punish the CPUs for all the times they did stuff. So the reason why I'm not going to be too worried about the gem cups is, now that we've done so many platinums around the courses, we pretty much know how to go through all the courses as fast as we can, so now it's more about just getting as many boosts as we possibly can, and going for all the trick jumps. And wow, I'm already starting off with a trick fail. I swear, I was doing that a lot in practice, and I made that jump every single time. I, like, barely missed it. Well, I still kind of missed it, but it's just that, well, yeah. I usually rarely miss that secret jump. It's one of the many secret jumps that I'm actually really good at. And that just happens because that we've played this so much that, like, PROWESS in particular, I played so dang much that I pretty much know exactly how to tackle that shortcut, so I'm actually kind of surprised I missed that. That was probably because I jumped late, but oh well. Anyways, we get to do all the secrets this time. First we have, of course, the jump one to the right, which you can get by... So now, instead of just going through and doing all of the stuff, we're gonna show you literally every secret this game has to offer now. PROWESS is one of the trickier tracks normally. In the original version, you could do a loop around the side and land on, I believe it's this spot, I'm gonna show you later, but if you land on that spot perfectly, it's me, which is right there. You see that red right there? You could land on that in the original game, and it would actually cause you to skip this turn even more than what happened before. But because that's not available, we have to settle for a simple corner cut instead. Looks like it's still kind of on easy mode, or at least on medium mode, because I have gotten it ahead of CPUs in medium mode before, so it doesn't seem like much has changed. And it's even easier just because of the additional fact that you hardly have to worry about the CPUs at all, because now we're just focusing on going as fast as possible. No CTR levels, no nothing, just pure speed. Which means the gem cups will actually fly by really quickly as a result of this. Obviously, we need to do all of them to unlock Turbo Track. in order to make things fun, I'm going to make sure that I do Slide Coliseum and Turtle Track or whatever. I'll do Turtle Track after Slide Coliseum just to make it fun. I actually kind of get what they're doing with this cup now, because I noticed the bosses are here, so I assume the reason why they're here is because these are all the bosses' courses, so now we get to play them, but with the bosses actually there. Now, as Dingo in the original game, going around the secret is much faster, but because of the purposes of speed, I'm going to just go for the safety strat instead, because I'm not really interested in losing time to doing stuff. That was a very strange jump. Did you see that? I literally just bounced off of Papu's head. Didn't even hit much, and just randomly got a jump. I don't think I pressed the jump button at all. I literally did not press the jump button there. It just gave me a strange jump there. In case you're wondering, Dingodile has to slow down a minimum of 1, sometimes even 2 times, depending on how you take this turn in order to take it properly. So this is one of the courses where having a handling character like Kura or even Coco is much more recommended. In fact, this is one of the reasons why when I looked at the history of how this game was speedrun, people actually never used the fastest character in the game, Dingodile or Tiny, at all. They were faster, but not by much, and they had some problems, particularly in Tiny's arena and this track. But because of a new track in this game, now any speed character is faster. But in the original game, for the longest time, people actually preferred to use Coco instead of Dingodile, just because she had better turning but had enough speed to still kind of keep up with the speed characters, and it was enough to save quite a bit of time over each of the courses. But slowly but surely that thing has faded away, and I believe it's one specific runner I started looking at. I forget his name, but he started figuring out that there were strategies that Dingodile could do to make the thing faster. And one of those strategies in Dragon Mines is to take the shortcut on all 3 laps, since round the turn as him is pretty much a not good thing, so you want to just go through the shortcut instead, because it's much easier that way. And yeah. So just as I thought, we're going through all of the boss courses, so all the courses we fought the bosses on, we get to do that, and we get to face them again, and I actually like the additional effect. I actually don't remember if it even is in the original or not, but the bosses returning on their own courses is definitely something that I like. I wish they could do that more, like, because previously only the weak eventual later show up. In fact, wow, there's not even a CPU in sight, so it is just the 4. I just noticed there's only 5 characters, me and the 4 bosses, so wow. I actually didn't notice that the first few times. That's really strange that I forgot about that. Now, the Gem Cup is definitely one of my favorites to do. That's why I said that when I finish this part, I'm going to definitely take a break from this. The next thing I do is going to be all of the cups in all the games. On easy first, of course, because I did say I was going to be attempting to do them with all characters, but I'm not really ready for hard. Hopefully by the time I get to hard, I'm at least good enough with the game that I can keep the speed boost through stuff. So I guess I should probably say something. To try and impress the fans and make this stand out, I tried hard just once for the heck of it, and it did not go well. I lost on the second race there a lot because obviously I didn't know what to do, so in an attempt to maybe not be super pathetic and go on easy, I sticked with classic, since like many of the other characters, I always played CTR racing anyways. Like this, the original was one of my favorite games, so it makes sense. Also, I wasn't able to do it there, but if there's a strategy, I believe, with braking and jumping that allows you to turn corners really sharply without losing any speed. It's absolutely ridiculous. I forget how you actually do it though, because you have to press brake at the same time you get that in order to not lose any speed. So it's probably the trickiest thing to do. Obviously you want to lift here. And then that was kind of an example of the fire boost. Now, I did mention there's a trick with that. In this track and a couple of other tracks with blue fire, if you drift properly around the track, it's possible to keep the flame for the entire lap, but doing so is very precise early on, and for me it's pretty much impossible to do. But anyways, here's the trick I was talking about. See how I kind of turned around a little bit quickly? It actually probably wasted a little bit of time, but if you do that while jumping at the right time, you can actually turn really sharply in this game, and doing it allows you to go even faster, and if you time it perfectly, you can actually still keep your fire for the entire thing. Of course, that is probably the most difficult thing to do, so obviously we're not going to be seeing that. Now, in case you're wondering why I'm not playing the other characters, don't worry too much. Later on, I will probably customize my cart. That will be for the gem cups, though, unfortunately. Also, when I finish this, it's going to be much more funner to be done, because once I finish adventure mode, we don't have to deal with this anymore. We could just go straight for the finish, and that's it. Yeah. So far, the gem cups seem a lot easier than the predecessor. I believe in the original game I had a little bit more trouble with them, but... Also, this is the only time we get to see the boss lose animations, and Pinstripes is one of the goofiest. He's just, like, so upset, man. That's one thing they did take out in the original, was the unique boss animations. You never see Oxide's losing animation in this. It's really strange. The only way to see that is to play as him and intentionally get second in one of the races. With someone else, like in multiplayer, getting first, and then you will see his losing animation. But to be fair, there are much more losing animations now. We have more than a share of characters to get, which I like. Also, probably when I get all of the platinums, I'm gonna get a bunch of walks, aren't I? That's what I assume. That's why I actually went for the platinums, because I was thinking, well, if I get all of the platinums in Adventure World, Stuffit's probably gonna give me a new character, I think. Though I don't think that's the truth. I think that's only with gold or higher for the highest percent will give you something, but the other one won't. Oh, there we go. Our friends are back now. So that purple gem cup is just a unique cup I like, that removes the usual CPUs and does other stuff. Try to tech that. I've teched that a couple of times now, where, I've had, in case you're wondering, if you put out a TNT box or a bottle, which I was trying to do, on the frame that box gets really close to you, it'll hit the TNT crate instead and nothing will happen, and if you do that perfectly, you can dodge a missile completely. Now, another thing I probably should have mentioned, the reason why I said the CPUs are so easy, because this is nothing like Mario Kart. In Mario Kart, CPUs could get a whole tons of things, including lightning, blue shells, and red shells, and they could all combine to do craziness. In this game, they rarely get the time clock, which is this version's of lightning. Still though, it's kind of goofy that they do, or at least in the original mode they do. If you play on hard, it does seem like they do get the time clock, but other than that, I don't see the CPUs ever getting either invisibility masks, the blue orb, which is this game's version of the blue cell, or I'm gonna call it the blue lightning, I guess. It makes the most sense. And then, oh yeah, and of course the time watch. They rarely get those big items, so that means once you get far ahead, it's very hard to lose. The only difficult CPU at all is hard mode, where they just go faster overall. They don't rubber band, they just go really fast in hard mode, so that's, I guess, one reason why the people like this game, because it's more pure skill and they don't have to deal with the RNG of Mario Kart. Of course, play with online and everything changes. Now all the changes. Another reason why I'm not showing the online races. Once you go into online, things change quite a bit. People start using time locks more often, and it becomes more like Mario Kart than actual races. Occasionally someone does win, but you'll get lightning orbed quite a few times there because you can't actually evade the lightning orb by doing the other stuff. Of course, that doesn't mean that you could necessarily use them. You could still use time watches and blue lightnings, but they can only be used against you in online mode as far as I know. Or, of course, if you're playing locally, they'll get used on you as well. So, locally is probably the first time you'll see them more. So, if you play with friends, that's where you'll see them more often. Okay, well, now that that spiel is done, I don't really have much to talk about. Gem cups are pretty much so much easier compared to everything else in the game because you could just go very fast around every turn. It's very rare that something bad happens to you. If anything, the hardest part is at the very beginning when the CPUs first get access to their items. That's when things get a little bit crazy. Other than that, there's not much to say. Once you get into the lead, it's very easy to keep the lead. I feel like it was harder to do this in the original game. I swear, like, I think I still lose a lot more in the original game. At least I know it was usually on normal, but yeah. And in case you're wondering, I'm doing brake drifting on a lot of these corners, because just like I mentioned, Dingodile can't do many of the turns in Tiny's arena. So in order to get through stuff, I have to jump around everything. Also, I just noticed there's a new sound animation that plays when I cross the finish line. Normally it's a completely different sound, so it looks like they have a unique lap finish animation sound for Tiny's Arena. I like that. It's really cool. I actually don't need to brake around that turn. I don't know why I did that. I think I was just worried about doing our stuff. But I feel like this game just improved Dingodile's turning, as well as all the speed characters turning by quite a bit. Also a new effect, if you play on CTR Nitro Field mode, in the Adventure you could select whichever speed cap you want, so you could make Dingodile into a acceleration class instead of a speed class. That's probably why I'm playing on Classic right now, because I prefer to stay true to the original, so since doing that would make it good, I figure doing this is better. And in case you're wondering why I didn't start with a fresh save file, I probably should explain. Unfortunately, this file I got a little too anxious and started the save file a little too early. So I didn't get to see the opening cutscene. It's nothing much different. It tells you that there's Nitro that you can collect throughout the game, and the more you race, the more Nitro you get, and the more lockables you get. All this can only be attained in the other modes that aren't CTR Nitro Field Adventure mode. So if you play local arcade or online, you will get those. But It's kind of a new system they added in, and basically as you get more stuff, as you get more races with each character, you unlock more of their stuff. Like, to get Dingodile's first skin, if you just race with him once, you get one of his first skins, and then the rest of them you unlock by going through all of the other stuff. So by getting the relics, I believe that's one thing that gives you unlockables, which I think is really cool. Okay, continuing on though. Hot Air Skyway once again, this time with our actual CPUs this time. Jeez, I just noticed that just stayed really close to me. What is with Hot Air Skyway and everybody staying close to me? I guess it's too much of a basic course, so everyone stays close to me. Oh well. It's almost like in Crash Cove, where it seems easy at first until everyone stays close to you all of a sudden, and then things get a little wacky. Terrible timing on that. I think he tried to launch a missile and it just launched directly into the wall. I feel like the missiles half of the time don't lock on to characters. I guess that's a good thing for me since the CPUs are the ones that use them, so they won't be bothering me with that, at least. Okay, I'm gonna do this. Jumping seems to be a little bit faster on some of the later turns, so I definitely need to try and do that. What was that? That was... I've never done that before. I'm surprised I didn't fall off there. I was heavily expecting to fall off there. Okay, good enough. I think the way you're supposed to do that is pretty precise. Like, really fast without getting stepped. If you want to watch a speedrun of this game, you'll see some crazy shenanigans. Like, when they get to this track in particular, they do a crazy trick that makes them cut corners a lot faster than before. That's why I said if you keep purple boost around the spots, but then drift at the same time, you can make some very incredible turns look much easier than they actually are, which is good. So that means it seems like even the speed characters have a lot of control because of that. Of course, still pretty difficult with all this, but hey, I'll take that. At least it makes the track a lot easier for me. Oh. And what I mean by quickness is you will turn to pretty much face the other way immediately and you won't stop at all. It's pretty tricky to do though. The brake drift strategy I'm trying right now seems to be like the best because it mostly breaks even with the R strategy, but it is pretty hard to pull off. Actually, well, it's probably the easier strategy, so I don't really mind it too much. And so far, I think these cups are going by pretty quickly. When you don't have dumb things to do because of platinum relics, things get a whole lot easier to do quickly. So yeah, I won't be able to get many platinums off screen because I pretty much want to try and complete Eventual by today. It is only 2 cups and 2 tracks, and each of them could potentially take not very long at all, but I'm really worried about what could happen. Ah, terrible. Normally I hop around the stuff there, but I did not do that. With the CPUs being really close at the beginning. Even if it doesn't seem like much, all this hopping around the corners is really helping me with my turns. If I was played as Dingodile in the original game, I don't think it would work as good, but in this game, it seems like it works really good, which I like. Especially in this run. Keep in mind, since Dingodile is a speed character, he usually goes faster in a straight line, so it's interesting to see him go fast while drifting. Whereas some of the other characters that are more based off of accelerating go fast by zigzag drifting for everywhere. Oh, nearly landed on the top part of the track there. Ah. You see, that's where I was... So that's where if you were playing as a speed... Playing the speedrun. If you were doing that, you would jump around this turn to make it tighter, and you would be able to keep the purple boost all the way to the finish. You're normally not supposed to do that, so you get tons of speed doing that. Nice. That was probably the best I've ever done that turn. Even if I'm not doing it correctly, learning that hopping strategy has really helped me go a lot faster in some of these tighter turns. In fact, I feel like I'm getting stopped less often into a lull now. When I was previously playing this for the first time, I was ready to hold tons of lulls whenever I would play as Dingodile, but now I'm playing really well to the point where it's becoming really fun. So, obviously, because of that, speed is obviously the best here. The previous acceleration would have probably been better, but obviously, even if I wanted to do that, I'd rather go for non-speed. Yeah. Of course, despite that, when I initially played the game, I played as Crash, just like everybody else did, probably. I never really played as anyone else. So when I initially played the original game for 100% completion finally, I played as Dr. Neo Cortex instead of Dingodile just because he's more balanced, so getting everything seems a lot easier, but in this game, when you need a lot of speed to get to specific spots, speed characters actually help out quite a bit. In fact, these boxes to get are much harder as one of the slower characters that don't have a good top speed. Whereas with Dingodile, they're much more simpler because you could reach them at a good time. It also makes platinuming and everything surprisingly more easier than I expected.
Dingo, dingo, dingo!
But yeah, that's really fun. And so we got that. We got a skin for Pinstripe as well. That's nice. Okay, let's go to the next gem cup. so glad to finally be done with the stinking, what is it again? Oh, yeah, the... I'm so glad to be done with the stinking at the barracks for at least a while. There'll only be 2 left to do, and after that I'll be done. So I feel like the gem cups are a nice break from everything because it tests my speed really well, and I think it's a pretty nice break. Plus, we actually will go for Side Coliseum at least once, or Turtle Trap. I forget which one you go through, but you go through one of them during the Gem Cups, so you do end up seeing at least one of them.
Move over, mate.
Of course, I need to remember this is the RG one, where in order for you to go fast at this level, you have to use an item on this box right there. Of course, it's completely random what you get, so you can get really unfortunate like me in the first time and get no bottles for the first 3 laps whatsoever, and not even get to use the shortcut because the game just trolls you so much. I'm gonna try that shortcut that I mentioned earlier. Okay. Looks like that doesn't work unless you keep speed around the turn, but I could definitely try a decent corner cut where I go a little bit to get to the other turn a little bit sooner and then go back on and cut it later. That was almost too early there, but it ended up working just right. Okay, next race now. We're going pretty quick, I think. I definitely like it. Looks like we'll be able to do 4 gem cups before we have to quit. I'm gonna make sure I do all 4 though. I really don't want to pause in the middle of one because you know what might happen. We could get through stuff a little bit quickly. Now to show you how easy some of these courses are, once you get the first set of points early on in a race, like 3 wins, you can actually just give up on some of the later courses and still win, which is pretty sick. I'm obviously not going to be doing that because that is very slow, because there's no give up button, unfortunately, that lets you skip tracks. Why didn't I go for that? I did say this was one of my least favorite courses, and I remember why. This is one of the hardest courses in World 1, but looking at it now from a different standpoint, it's not for me the worst course, because like I mentioned before, Papu's Pyramid is the most obnoxious, but this is definitely one of the worst courses for Platinum Relics, that's for sure, because otherwise it would be crazy. I swear, they made this shortcut a lot easier to do. Sure, I'll just jump off like that. So you want to jump off like that when you're going for a fast run, because obviously it'll be a lot easier to do it that way. Because going around the other way is actually much more slower than you would think. It's only really good at time trials in the original game, just to get the box in Relic Race, but other than that, if you're not playing Relic Race and you're playing time trials, definitely don't recommend it. And also, a little strategy you can do here is, I've seen people do, if you hop to the right side, you can make this more than 90% of the time. So even if you don't do it right, then sticking on the right edge is probably the best, but hey. Of course, it is one of the harder shortcuts in the game, and I find it a lot harder than everything else because I just not am the best at it. I also get hit by the barrels a lot too. Like, when I was initially playing this level, I got hit by at least one barrel every time, and it got a little bit obnoxious. Of course, now I at least know where they're coming, but that'll happen sometimes when you can't figure out where things are going and you just run into that all the time. And as you might have guessed, I did awake the statue, because I did do that. That was actually in the previous episode where we did that. I collected most of the eggs off screen though, because I was really confused on how to get them. If you want a more in-depth guide on how to get them, there's probably a video you can check up that'll show you that, but hey, I at least showed you one of them and the result just so that you know what it gives you, and it's really nice that it gives you a new character, which I think is nice. And I think King Chicken isn't really something that's in the game, so I think it's actually a reference to one of the Spyro games instead. That's the first thing that comes into mind, because the chicken is one of the animals that you can take out as Spyro to get Sparks' health back. That's the last thing I actually remember about that. And it's in one of the levels anyway, as a little bonus mission, so I think that's where that comes from. So what it's doing in the Crash universe, I have no idea, because I don't remember ever seeing a chicken in the Crash universe. I definitely remember seeing one in the Sail universe, so it's probably a Spyro character. A very odd one at that, but I like it. This game has lots of characters. In fact, this game has almost just... Come to think of it, this game now has almost just as much characters as Mario Kart 8 Deluxe does now. Like, I think that game has around 48. This has around almost the same characters now, if you unlock everything, that is. You, of course, have to unlock everything, but when you do have all the characters, it feels really nice to get everything. Didn't see a good way of getting through that. But I honestly don't mind, because we already have to slow down here anyways, but it actually comes at a good, not really good time though. Of course, Dragon Mines I remember quite a bit for having the worst box location in the entire game. You see a jump I may have went off to the right just a few minutes ago? There's a box there in Time Trials, and getting that box took over an hour just to figure out, and I eventually got it by pretty much just ramming myself into the wall on purpose. It has to be a very specific angle and very late timing on the jump to just barely get around it. And to get the fastest platinum chime, you have to do it while moving in midair and avoid the jump, and then just immediately move back onto the track afterwards. It's such a difficult box to get. That's why I called it the worst box location in the game. We didn't get to see much in that chat, because in here I just kind of got the gold and left, and I didn't bother going for all the boxes. But in this one, I didn't really have a choice. Oh, then Engines Labs as well. So you probably didn't see it on video, but when I had to get the Platinum Relic by getting all the boxes, the way you get all those boxes is so stupid. I found the best strategy was to just literally turn around at the very beginning of the race, get the 12 boxes behind you in a very specific pattern, which I found a very good pattern too that doesn't just get them quickly, but makes you end up with, I believe you end with, what was it? Oh, you end on the right side of the track, so you don't have to turn around later. So instead of just turning around, you could just turn around and get the boxes. If you do it just right, you can potentially not have to turn around at all, and the thing gets really fun. Okay, so when I went through this check, by the way, I did figure out that the trick still works here. I was worried there was a hidden hitbox or kill plane that would make my character just fall down a pit, but it turns out it does still exist. I saw someone do it. In case you're wondering, if you... This purple, for me, is probably the easiest purple to keep in the game, because if you do really well, you can keep it for a really long time. This is probably the first purple I learned to keep the flames for a long time, and this is what I was talking about. I'll try and show it to you like this, I think, but if you have a lot of speed, it's possible to land on that perfectly. Of course, you have to do that from a very specific spot, and obviously you already have to have purple doing that, so otherwise it won't work. So it's gonna obviously be easier to do if you already have speed, which I could keep pretty easily anyway to begin with, so. But yeah, in the original game, that was working as well, but basically you're able to land on that platform. If you do so, you'll preserve all your speed going here. Ah, dang it. Ran right into the wall straight away. That's not fun. Coco's trying to play hard here, so I probably won't get a chance to show it off, so I'd rather not do it this time. Again, it's required to drift to even get enough speed to do it, so it's pretty much a trick that only works if you have a boost, but yeah, you are able to land on that, in case you're wondering. I thought it was impossible because of a hidden hitbox, but apparently they still allow you to do that in this game, which I like. So yeah, wasted a little bit of time there, but hey, I was actually doing really good before that. If I just jumped, I would have easily made it. Once you make it onto that jump, things get really crazy in the original. You just go so fast, it's really hard to control, so it's kind of a sketch strategy. You have to play really perfectly to keep it. So in the original, you actually have to remove it right away. But in this game, obviously, you can use the trick that I mentioned earlier in the video to just preserve it for the rest of the map and not even have to worry, which I think is cool. Yeah. And yes, I am correct when I say you can land on that. I'm gonna probably try and show that off later when I do the actual cups. Okay. I think this is the one that actually has the Slide Coliseum in it. I thought the other ones had it, but nope, that's not correct. This is the one that has it. So funnily enough, you don't actually play Turbo Track once throughout the entire game doing this, which is kind of interesting. I don't know why they did it like that, but oh well, it is what it is, I guess. Keep in mind, you can unlock the true ending without getting all the golds, but you need them for the maximum percent, otherwise they'll get stuck at 100%. I forget what the percent jumps up to since it's been a while, but I did get all of them on the original game. once. Like I said, I completed the original game 100% with Neo Cortex as my character. I picked that character, obviously, specifically because I didn't really see any other good videos of anyone using him, so because I felt sorry from the guy, especially seeing how many times Crash kicked his butt so many times, I decided to pick him because I wanted to give him a break, and sure enough, it was fun. He, of course, controls the same as Crash, just is much more evil this time around. But yeah, that's who I played as in the original game. Though I did start playing as Dingodile much later on. Okay, that's, by the way, how the trick's supposed to work. You see how I went super fast through there? If you play this course perfectly, you'll cut that really good. At the end, you want to cut it really hard, so we're going to try and do that. And also, I jumped down that because I found out that's faster to do. So yeah, definitely something that we do. And one thing you can do to make this a little bit easier is you drift at the end, it'll be nice and quick. So yeah, that was actually a really good shortcut at the very end on both of those laps. I think that worked really well. That was a very fast race there. Definitely really fast when you do that. Most of the time, by the way, is from the loading times. It seems like they take a long time to do a playthrough, which is kind of unfortunate, but it is what it is, I guess. Goodness, Cortex got in my way, so I couldn't do a drift right away. This is probably one of the easiest tracks to learn how to do the trick because Coco's part more than the others allows you to keep your boost a lot longer. By the way, if you keep your boost to make it perfect instead of good, you'll get a bigger boost from the drift than what you would get otherwise. But you need to figure out that if it's too late, then you won't really add much boost later. Okay, I'm starting to get better at this. Since, like I said, this is an easy course to hold your boost on, I figured it'd be nice to practice holding it like this. Whoa. Okay, so that was probably the best I did with the boost trick, and there you kind of see how it works. Decided to show it off in Coco Park, since obviously Coco Park's one of the easier courses by a mile, so it's one of the easiest to learn how to do the trick. And just as I thought, it is a little bit more complex than you thought. So in order to get that started, you can't just go for goods on the drift. You need to time your drift absolutely perfect. Too late and you'll miss it. Too early and you'll be good. If you see the perfect icon pop up there, you're good. And if you get a lot of perfects in a row, then that is when you start chaining your boost to points where it gets absolutely ridiculous. The initial part is probably the hardest, but once you chain enough of them together, that's when things get crazy. And you can preserve that fervor by hopping around turns, which is what speedrunners do on some of the tougher tracks to make sure they don't lose time there. But before that, it's much more difficult to do properly, and you'll probably lose it more than a few times going around specific corners. Additionally, there's other things that could happen, like I just got hit by a missile. Any missile or object will immediately lose you the fire, and you have to build it up again all the way from the beginning. It's kind of frustrating. The boost pads will obviously allow you to keep it. But yeah, it's kind of tricky when you first start the game. Once you know what to do, it gets a little bit crazy. And you have to get like at least 3 decent perfects in a row in order to get a good boost started. Otherwise, it'll be almost impossible to hold it. Ooh, I held that purple for a decent time. I'm definitely getting better at holding these boosts. I was hoping to go fast there, but looks like the seal didn't allow it. It's the reason why I hate seals, because I'm so focused on going fast and I just jumped over the thing completely there. Let's maybe not jump this time. Again. This is stupid. I think whenever I play this mode, I always run into those stinking shields every time, but then when I was playing the hours later, I literally discovered a path to evade them every time, so the seals weren't that difficult. I guess I'm just not used to them being in that way. Oh wow, there's still one more lap. Forgot about that. So, because of the way the trick works, you probably want to do a good a couple of times when you go for the drifts, just so that you can keep it longer, because if you don't do it good, it may be really hard to do that and go for perfect drifts. Nice. Okay, we made up for that. Wow, we lost like 9 seconds at one lap because of that trick. Wow. But, hey. Okay, now one more race. And this is gonna be the Side Coliseum. Or Turtle Track. If it's Turtle Track, I have to do a lot of brake drifting around this spot because it's almost impossible to do perfectly as Dingodile. In fact, pretty much every character has to do a brake drift strategy here. I'm glad I learned that because otherwise, if I played Turtle Track normally, I would bonk into pretty much all of the walls, because you know me. And Dingodile as well just would probably bonk into them anyway, so very difficult. If it's Slide Coliseum, then I can deal with it. I think it is Slide Coliseum, because I don't think Turtle Track comes until later. Very confused, though. Oh, no, it's Cortex Castle. In the original game, I believe Slide Coliseum was a thing that appeared. Maybe that's not until the cups. Oh, yeah, I think that's not until the actual cups that appears. Never mind. So that means you only see that once. Beginning. But yeah, back to Cortex Castle. This great place with so many tight turns for Dingodile. It's not fun, obviously. And the secret here is very difficult. If you don't get a good angle, you're pretty much forced to go the long way around. And I probably will go around it on purpose just to avoid doing that, but I will still try to maybe do it. Okay, that was a good purple hold there. Of course, in the original, it was almost uncontrollable, so you had to let the purple go at some point. But it was possible to hold it for a long time, but I think that's one thing they fixed in the remake. Boosts are a lot easier to hold in the remake compared to the original because of this new drifting mechanic. Spin's much more fun. As well as the zigzag. Okay, I went for that because it was on Shatter. When I did one of my earlier races on the CTR race or whatever, there was one point where I got every single shortcut on that perfectly, but then when I played it for the first time, I just couldn't figure it out, and I just always would miss the shortcut. That's when I figured out that you need to drift into it, and it's kind of precise. I did kind of understand how to get it. You have to jump off at a specific angle, but other than that... Oh, and... whoa. That's what I mean by that turn being bad. That's why I have to do that specific jumping pattern, otherwise I just run into the wall. Okay, when I do it like that, that seems to be the easiest way to do it, so the more I drift to the right, it seems to work better. Sure, well, purple straight into the end there. Yeah. Nice. Okay, now we're done with this one. Head is getting tired again. Probably just from holding this for so long. Well, at least now I can take a little break with it, because we're going to be ending the episode now. So yeah, that was a fun episode. I feel like the gem cups, in my opinion, are going to be more fun. That's why I can't wait to try out the actual cups, because it'll be really nice. I don't think I'll have to restart it all, but it'll be kind of interesting. And when I mean all cups, I mean all cups. We're going to do the bonus courses as well, of course. So that means we're going to see a bunch of new courses. And that's where I'm going to be completely blind in, by the way, because I've only done a couple of them. I've not done any of the bonus tracks otherwise. So, not much there, unfortunately. Well, that'll be it for now. Leave a like if you enjoyed this video, comment, rate, subscribe, and in the next video, we'll attempt to finish this game off, at least in its adventure mode, by clearing the last two worlds. Hopefully Slide Coliseum and Turbo Track don't go terribly bad. Otherwise, I may have to start at an awkward time, but oh well. We'll definitely finish it by today. Anyways, leave a like if you enjoyed, comment, rate, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next episode. Peace.